In the last video, we talked about YouTube's secret, contradictory, and inconsistent policies regarding demonetization. In this video, we're going to talk about what demonetization really is and why it matters. I'm sure you've heard the bitching and griping from various channels about YouTube's demonetization, but what does demonetization really mean? The short answer is it means you get a little piss dollar next to your video that YouTube defines as limited or no ads. But that answer feels like a cop-out. Before we can really unpack the impact of limited or no ads, we have to talk a little about how YouTubers make money. You'll note that I'm not exactly rolling in dough here, but I never made that much on YouTube in the first place. At my peak, I was getting around $130 a month. Not exactly like I'm going to quit my day job on that. Besides, if I did, who else would tell people to turn their computer off and on again? But some guys literally did quit their day jobs for the YouTube gig. I remember when 22 Plinkster announced that he was going to quit so he could focus full-time on YouTube. I was genuinely excited for him. Other channels like Tough Later Mouse and Military Arms Channel earn most of their living from YouTube. These guys all make excellent content, and I hope they can afford to keep doing what they do, but I know this has hit them really hard. So what exactly happens when a video is demonetized? I'm sure you've seen the iTarget laser bullet ads that seem to play on every gun-related video lately. You basically get that one, Tactical Traps Steal My Gun Furniture, or the USCCA Concealed Carry Insurance on almost every gun-related video. You ever wonder who decides which ads go on videos? It's all done through a bidding system called Google Ads, formerly AdWords. Anyone can set up an account and start serving ads. Years ago, they gave out some free credits to some folks, so I even set up an ad campaign to promote my videos. You can blast through money pretty fast that way, and I wasn't about to spend any of my own quatloos on it, but it's exactly how some channels grew so quickly. I mean, you have to create watchable content, but if you give that a kick in the butt with paid promotion on multiple social media campaigns, you can grow a business quickly. Google Ads also gives you some control over what type of content your ad runs on. When a video gets identified for limited or no ads, that means the algorithm has decided it fits one or more of the categories that YouTube allows advertisers to opt out of. All the really big advertisers have decided that they don't want to advertise on anything that's remotely controversial. They avoid left or right politics, videos with naughty language, stunts, even professional stunts like freestyle motocross, violent nature videos, sexually suggestive content. The list goes on and on. Coca-Cola and Apple are looking to avoid having their brand associated with anything that's remotely controversial. That is, on YouTube. They have no problem putting their name behind Trevor Noah, Sean Hannity, or Negan. When it comes to traditional media, they're comfortable with the long-established rules in place. There is ebb and flow to what is allowed, but advertisers are happy with the general knowledge that when they pay AMC, they might have an ad run next to Coral getting his eye shot out, but it won't appear next to porn or a diatribe about how the Jews are controlling the chemicals used to make the frogs gay. Here on YouTube, there's no good way to give those assurances. LG probably doesn't have any issue placing an ad next to a measured and sober gun review from Military Arms Channel. But then the next video is some retard droning on with intentionally false history about the 1911 or shooting a cleaning rod into gel with a blank. If I gave you a list of videos and asked you to decide which ones are appropriate for a large advertiser who doesn't want to be associated with anything controversial, it would be pretty easy for you to do that, right? But what if that list contained 432,000 hours of video per day? So they automate. And this is where some of the bias creeps in. And it's not necessarily intentional on YouTube's part. I don't want to let them off the hook, but consider they have to develop automated ways of checking for anything that's even possibly less than vanilla. It's relatively easy to use speech recognition to catch cuss words. That's what gets AVE's channel all the time. And why not look for the waveform of gunshots? That would be easy too, except you don't want to exclude gamers because, let's face it, that's like most of YouTube. Ever heard of PewDiePie? So maybe an easy way to fix that would be to compare with known audio and video samples from popular games. This is all pure speculation on my part, of course, but the point is that some of the stuff we do in gun-related videos is predictable and easy to catch with automation. But how do you write an algorithm to catch the dipshit kid about to jump off his roof or the BLM activist who's advocating violence against police officers? I don't really know the answer to that. My suspicion is that gun-related videos trigger the algorithms more often and fail review more consistently than with other content types. So we know what happens, and we have some speculation about why it happens, but we haven't even really hit the major impact. Even some of the larger channels don't make all of their money off YouTube ad share revenue. I've extrapolated the numbers from what I make to their figures, and for some of them, it would still be a fairly modest living. So they have declared sponsorships like we do at TFB TV and side gigs like Copper Custom that Tim over at Military Arms channel runs. But those rely on the traffic generated by YouTube videos to perform well. That's where this YouTube demonetization hurts. It isn't the loss of revenue. Well, it is that, but what happens when your video gets limited or no ads is that YouTube's algorithm doesn't recommend the video as much. YouTube swears that the algorithm doesn't favor ad serving, but it's been obvious when videos hit a brick wall. I've seen several videos that were doing very well stop almost instantly when demonetized. It's hard to really document this, so you have to kind of take my word for it, but if you doubt me, you can ask basically any other YouTube channel what happens when a video is demonetized. This video did much better than usual when it was published. Within the first couple of weeks, it got about 38,000 views, which is phenomenal for the ARFCOM channel. For whatever reason, people liked it, and the more people watch a video, the more the algorithm recommends it. Then, the day it got demonetized, views practically stopped. You can see that it got only another 2,000 views or so in the last several months, when before it had been getting that much in just a couple days. YouTube is definitely full of shit when they say that demonetization doesn't hurt the video's performance. Okay, so YouTube demonetization hurts content creators by reducing their ad share revenue and by cutting into their reach. And it looks as though it might be hitting gun channels harder. But why should you care? I mean, it's fair to respond, "Welp, that sucks, go get a real job." But I want you to consider the chilling effect that this has on free speech in general. For the last few decades, Alphabet, Facebook, and Twitter have become the gatekeepers for public thought in the US and arguably the rest of the world. There are essentially two ways to consider public speech. It's either an unregulated public square or it is a curated public stage. In the former case, no restraints are placed on what may be said except possibly to report illegal speech. An example would be an internet service provider or a telephone company. In the other case, the owner of the space can dictate whatever they wish about the speech that happens there. An example of that kind of space might be a bar with an open mic night. Sure, anybody can show up, but the bar will kick you out if you say things that they dislike. At the same time, they become responsible for the things they say because of that editorial restraint that they're placing on your speech. This distinction matters a great deal. If a venue is a public square open to all and not curated or moderated except for illegal speech, then the owner of the venue cannot be held criminally or civilly liable for what is said. But the moment the property owner decides to start regulating speech, they lose that protection. When they exercise editorial control over the content, they assume liability for the content. They go from being a space open to the public, analogous to a park, to being legally more similar to a newspaper or radio station. YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook have been trying to have their cake and eat it too. They've been regulating speech, but also claim that they are open platforms. Legally, they claim they are content carriers, just like ISPs and telephone companies. They can't be both. They're either publishers or platforms. The thing is, we've mostly been allowing these companies to do as they will because we respect private property. But remember, none of your rights extend so far as to infringe on the rights of another person. You've heard the saying that your right to swing your fists with abandon ends where my nose starts. You do not have unlimited rights to free speech. You can't say things that are untrue and cause harm. And corporations don't have unlimited property rights. This whole thing is getting very tiring, and there isn't much I can do about it. But I wonder if YouTube and other social media might be staring down the barrel of legislation, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Look, I'm a libertarian, small l. I don't want to see the federal government step in and write even more dumbass laws that will have even more dumbass unintended consequences and further infringe on our rights, regardless of how well-intentioned they may be. But I think that if YouTube and other social media doesn't get their shit together, that's exactly what's going to happen. I believe that if the government can get out of the way, the market is perfectly capable of correcting this sort of thing. Right now, there is no viable streaming alternative to YouTube, but these policies create market pressure. Not just because of gun channels, we're small fish, but everyone who runs content that is anything but bland, vanilla drivel is being pushed away from the platform. And it isn't just the content creators either. YouTube got to be what it used to be because people like watching edgy shit. Not my stuff, that's boring. I'm talking about that gonzo shit that Matt V 2099 used to do. YouTube's policies are steadily pushing both creators and viewers away. Many creators are just mirroring content on other platforms. Eventually, that's going to reach a tipping point. No one knows what platform or platforms will take YouTube's place, but it is inevitable that others will emerge. The only thing YouTube has even a small degree of control over is how fast they push viewers and creators off their platform. Remember MySpace? In 10 years, we might be explaining to our kids about how, oh yeah, people used to post almost all internet videos to just one site. Crazy, isn't it? And if the market takes too long to correct, the courts might just handle it. In the United States Supreme Court case of Marsh versus Alabama, the court found that a company could not use trespassing to suppress a woman's First Amendment rights. In a way, this has already been decided. I'm not a lawyer, but I think that YouTube et al. May have already sealed their fate by regulating speech at all. The next step is they either voluntarily back off to something reasonable or get sued every time someone thinks that one of those 5 billion videos said something slanderous or started a fad that got someone hurt. Tide Pods and Shiggy Challenge, anyone? This situation is coming to a head, and I think this can only end in market correction, court precedent, or with legislation. This will reach a tipping point. YouTube must find an answer to survive. Free speech includes unpopular speech, and corporate oppression is no better than government oppression. Thanks for listening to me yammer. Let me know what you think about this issue and how you think it might shape out. In the next video, I'm going to cover some of my ideas for how content creators and viewers can actively fight this. In the meantime, check out some of these Boss Pro Gun shirts. Buying my swag helps support my channel, and I've got everything from sweatshirts to stickers here. If nothing else, consider it a donation. Stay golden, pony boy.
You got